awesome!
Hey, everybody. Welcome to NVC 539. I am Seth Macy. Thank you for joining us, Super Ninfrendos. That one's stuck. I'm sorry, guys. That's how it is. It's here forever. Woo. Although this crew here, I consider more of a Super Famicom. With me today is Peer Schneider, who is...
Hi, Seth.
Hi. How's it going, Peer?
I'm good. Keep going.
Oh, yeah, and Tom and Zach are here also. What's up, guys?
Nice. It's true. I was very excited for this episode until you started throwing in all these puns, Seth.
Oh, the worst.
Look, I have to differentiate myself in some way. And if it causes you physical discomfort, I have to apologize for that.
I love it.
All right, cool. See, there we go. Tom has given it his blessing.
Stamp of approval.
It sticks forever. We have so much to talk about this week because we had the Nindy Direct. Let's get right into it. Peer is giving me the thumbs down. You can't see that on the podcast, but I'm assuming that's German for excellent.
Yeah, that's like the Romans. It was actually reversed. You got
right.
Should we kill him? Yes.
Yeah.
No.
All right, Nindy Direct. There's so many games. Probably the biggest, arguably the biggest, was Among Us. Came out like an hour after the Nindy Direct. Have any of you played it on the Nintendo Switch?
No, not the Switch version.
No.
One?
Among Us.
Among Us.
No, I have not yet.
Among Us.
Among Gus. Yeah, my friend Gus.
I do know that it shares the sort of funny PC mobile disparity of the mobile version is free, but the PC and the Switch versions are $5, which is like, because mobile is a different market and it's a different world, but like it is kind of funny when you then put that on a mobile device like the Switch and you're like, oh, okay, that's a little weird when you could just put this on your phone for free.
That happens. But it's I heard it runs really well, which is surprising for such a graphically intensive game.
Right. Yeah. It's this and Cyberpunk are probably the two most demanding games of this year. My question is, and I guess since none of you have played it, how does the voice chat work on this? It's a pretty important part of Among Us.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. I just saw the most insane thing drive past my house right now. A hot pink wood chipper on the back of a trailer just drove by. It's like a normal truck, but then they had a wood chipper on the back end that was hot pink.
Yeah,
that's Zach.
I'm sorry.
That seems pretty sus to me.
Yeah.
Well done. So it was crazy. Good. Sorry.
No,
Among Us.
How does the voice chat work on it?
I haven't used it.
Oh yeah, it doesn't.
Okay.
I thought it's got it built in, doesn't it?
Oh, does it? I thought because Nintendo has, you have to hook your smartphone to the Nintendo app, and then
no. Okay, so not for games like Fortnite, right? There's certain developers can put their own voice chat options in.
No, I think actually
maybe it doesn't have it.
No, so the Switch version, I just looked up. The Switch version doesn't have voice chat, but I thought this was it. The no version of it has official voice chat. You have to use like external apps to get voice chat working. Like you have to be on Discord to get voice chat working, even on PC. Yeah, so the voice chat doesn't work on Switch because there just isn't voice chat in that game.
It's got crossplay. It's got crossplay, right?
Yeah.
So, you definitely wouldn't be able to use the Nintendo app if you want to play with other people either. So
right. Yeah. Well, I mean, in a lot of ways that's better because you probably have a crew of people that you play with. You probably already have a Discord set up for your Among Us game. Yep. So, well, that's good. So, and I think probably the biggest thing about Among Us being on Switch is now like so many more people get to play it because not everybody, even a junky gamer PC might struggle with a game as demanding as Among Us, but
a lot of hardcore players may have ignored this game and are not playing it, but it is quite the phenomenon. It's blown up and it's a heavily streamed game because the interactions between the people are so fun and it is. Let's see where it is on the Nintendo bestsellers list.
I think it's at the top.
Is it number one? It is number one right now in digital sales. So I think that Conquest is going to continue. That game's going to be pretty big here.
Yeah, it's a good game. It's a fun game. It's not like it's not like a revolutionary or new concept, right? These sort of like social deception games, like Werewolf and that sort of thing, right? But like it's well executed. It does what it does, and it's really fun with friends. So like, yeah, I'm happy to see it come to Switch for sure. And it like also is kind of an interesting thing that this is the first console it's come to, right? Like that's neat.
Yeah. Yep. Shout out to the hard drive. They do stream it sometimes, and Phil Jameson is lethal. He is impossible to know if he is lying or telling the truth or not. So another big game coming to Switch. Well, a pair of big games, Spelunky and Spelunky 2.
Yeah.
Tom is rubbing his hands together in excitement. I've never played Spelunky. I own Spelunky, but I've never played it. Who can convince me that I need to play Spelunky?
Tom can.
Tom, there's no pressure at all.
Seconds.
I can, but I don't necessarily know if I want to.
Okay. Oh, because it's like that?
Secret.
If you're playing, Spelunky 2 is basically just Spelunky 1, but better. It's just improved in a lot of different ways. I think you'll just enjoy it more. So if you're gonna play these, maybe play Spelunky 1 just to see where it came from, but Spelunky 2 is the better version. It's a masterclass in roguelike platforming kind of challenge and design. It is really just a pretty incredible game in that regard. That said, and the reason I wouldn't just like go out on a ledge and say everyone has to play this game is it is unbelievably punishing and demanding and hard, right? It is a brutal game, even more so than a lot of roguelikes traditionally are. It is massively difficult, and the learning curve is steep as all heck. If you can get over that, it's really kind of an incredible thing. But it's not something I would recommend. Just like Hades is a roguelike where you're like, even if you don't like roguelikes, I'd recommend this game to you. Spelunky is not that. If you don't like roguelikes, you should not play Spelunky, right? Like it is not a game for you. But if you do like platformers, if you do like challenging games like that, it is really, really an incredible thing to like spend some time with and learn the systems and get comfortable with.
Are any of you old enough to know the original Spelunker that this game plays tribute and homage to?
I know it. I never played it though.
I had it on my
Pitfall
Atari.
Harry or
no, it's called Spelunker.
It is. It's literally called Spelunker. And it looks very, very similar. And it's like a cave exploration game, but it's it's not randomly generated. I played that on my Atari 600 XL with RAM expansion back in 1984 or something like that.
How many bytes of RAM expansion was that?
Okay, well, the 600 XL had only 16 kilobytes of RAM, and the expansion, which was like this big, brought it to 64.
Oh.
Yeah, that's actually pretty massive.
They made it a Commodore 64 basically.
God damn.
With more colors and worse sound. Spelunky is a really good game. It is punishingly difficult. So I don't know if you still like a challenge, Seth, or not.
I mean, life is challenging enough, but look at me now, conquering.
Yeah, and I do want to stress as I put that warning out, like Spelunky and Spelunky 2 are phenomenal. Like they really, really are great games. They're just like, I also know people who play them and then are just like, I hate this because it's like the learning curve is extremely steep. Yep. So like just be prepared for that and know that going in. But if you can get over that curve, they are some of the most rewarding roguelike platformers out there.
And Mitchell reviewed that, right? Gave it a 10?
Yeah, he gave the second one a 10 this year.
Wow.
These are really fun games to play in a family setting if you've got older kids, so not little kids, but like teens, to hand off the controller and actually try to last longer than the previous player. It makes for a nice little meta game.
And Spelunky 2 has up to 4-player co-op and also 4-player competitive mode that's like not like Towerfall levels of incredible, but like pretty dang good.
Well, I don't like to compete with my kids anymore because they're better than me, and I'm losing my ground with them, and their respect is eroding.
I'll definitely play multiplayer with them with Spelunky 2.
Fist of Fluffs. People really went bananas for Fisty Fluffs, and this is a game about cats that fight each other, and that's all you need to know. The thing that I enjoyed the most about it is the animation looks kind of wonky, like they're moving when like their feet are moving, but they're not quite moving with it. So it's very excited about.
It's like deliberately goofy and silly and over the top. So the company that publishes Rogue is actually that's run by Matt Casamassina, who used to host this podcast way before us. So this is his game studio picked this one up. But yeah, it looks really fun. He's very passionate about it, and keeps sharing trailers with cats fighting with heavy metal music.
Yeah, that's all you need. Very, very Valet, which I don't remember anything about. So that's no slight to the developers. It was a lot of information. Who can remember Very, Very Valet?
It's a cute little parking valet game.
Oh yes, now I remember. The valet.
This is the thing about.
Oh
this,
right, the one about the valet, of course.
Right. It's all coming back to me now. I don't know how to say the next game.
Tuncha, I think. Tuncha
looks cool. I like the look of that one. Yeah.
I'm glad that you guys were here to pick me up.
Yeah.
And make me not have to say Tunche improperly. I was going to say Tuncha.
I'm not entirely sure. I think that's correct, but I'm not entirely sure. So I might be wrong.
Well,
pronounced Tomba.
This one I'm very excited about. Cyber Shadow, which is by Yacht Club Games.
Hell yeah.
Developed by Mechanical Head Studios. It is a throwback 2D action platformer. It looks like Ninja Gaiden, but like cooler, and it has that sort of nice looking Yacht Club Shovel Knight sort of polish. And on the Switch edition, throw your little Shovel Knight amiibo on there, and guess who's going to come and see you? Guess who's going to come visit your Cyber Shadow Ninja Boy?
Shovel Knight
characters.
I feel like the answer to any cameo question now is Shovel Knight.
Yeah, that's true. Guess who's here? It's Shovel Knight. Man, I can't wait for this game. This game looks awesome, man.
Super stoked.
I love The Messenger. Big fan of The Messenger when that came out a couple of years ago. And this game looks like kind of a marriage of Shovel Knight and The Messenger, and has this awesome 16-bit art style. You play as a cyborg ninja that you can upgrade and utilize all these different attacks and stuff. Like, man, this game looks killer, and it's coming in at the end of January. It's out on January 26th, so it's like right around the corner.
It's crazy. Did you play Panzer Paladin at all? Did you try that one out?
I didn't play Panzer Paladin. It was on my list of stuff to play this year, and I just haven't got around to it. But I've got a couple weeks off coming up.
I'm saying I reviewed that one. I gave it an 8.
Video games, boy.
That's a fun game, and Cyber Shadow. I love any game that sort of just has that feel to it.
Yeah,
I'm an old man. So Calico available now. This lets you play out your dreams of owning a cat cafe. There's a real cat heavy Indie Direct this week.
It was.
It's very Animal Crossing, right? If I understand this game correctly.
A little bit, yeah. It's kind of in that vein of either Animal Crossing, Stardew, My Time at Portia, like that world, right? Of like running around town, meeting characters, building up your little thing. In this case, is a cafe. It's very cute.
Yeah, that's kind of what the Indie Direct was. Just that's so cute. But Alba, a wildlife adventure, which I think is about Steve Alba, the professional skateboarder, but I'm not sure.
It's actually Jessica Alba, professional actress.
You know that they're cousins. That is not something that I made up. That's true.
So that's the game from the Monument Valley people, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's like it's kind of like an animal cataloging rescue open world game. I haven't played it, but it was really well received when it came out on PC. I remember, and I think it's on iPhones too, right?
Yep, Apple Arcade.
Yeah, actually, I will download that and play it.
Here's another one I'm not sure I'm pronouncing correctly. Gnosha.
Yes,
I think the G is silent.
Yeah, I think it's
so it's not like Gary Gnu.
No,
nobody gets the Great Space Coaster reference from the 1970s. Okay, that's fine. This is a visual novel. You're solving who's been taken. Oh, yeah, dude. Why do I not remember these until I start? We're 10 minutes into the show. You have to figure out who's been taken over by the Gnosha, and it's sort of like a single player Among Us. It gave off vibes, but more stylized. Like you're trying to figure out who's been taken over rather than who's like an imposter. And it says, like 5 to 15 minutes. You can just jump in, play a game, jump right back out again.
Yeah, and then the style is a little bit more like anime visual novel. Right?
Yeah.
It's like it's not kind of a map-based game. It's more like talking characters and stuff.
Yeah, I was into this one. Then there's Happy Game, which is an ironic name because it has unhappy imagery. That was coming spring. And then on the highlight reel, Super Meat Boy Forever, which is 23rd, which is next week. Grindstone, which nobody seems to care about at all on this podcast. Nobody has mentioned it.
We'll get to it.
Oh yeah, okay. When the Pass was around, which is available now. Cosmocrats, which comes March 2021 as a timed exclusive. Hoa, which is April 2021. Hazel Sky. These are all spring 2021. Trash Sailors, which is basically the true story of me. Finding Paradise, which is also available spring 2021. So there it is, your Nindy Direct. Let's talk about the biggest surprises and disappointments of 2020 for your Nintendo lifestyle. For me personally, the biggest surprise and disappointment this year was that nobody could get a Switch for most of the year. Once people started having to stay at home, the Switches were gone. And it wasn't until maybe like August that they started to become more wildly available. And that is so surprising to me. I mean, I knew that the Switch was going to be selling great because everybody loves the Nintendo Switch. I didn't expect it to be selling out. And as somebody who monitors stock and has, as part of their job, it was so surprising to see the base Nintendo Switch only available on Amazon third party for $400 or $500 for most of the entire year. And I think related to that was another surprise of 2020 was that the Animal Crossing Switch came back and you could just get like 5 of those if you wanted to.
Yeah, it was strange. You can definitely it wasn't just the impact of the pandemic and Nintendo having to shift manufacturing. The thing just sold so well, right? Like it set new records in sales, which is, if you go back to the Wii days, the Wii you were unable to get a Wii in the first whole year. Yeah. But then, they just made a ton of them and the thing kept on selling for a while. But this is very unique and very different. The Switch is definitely hitting this niche. And then games like Ring Fit Adventure that constantly sold out in all territories. Like in Japan, people were clamoring to get it. They were like, if you my daughter sent pictures, but if you went into a game store, there'd be a display saying, sorry, we don't have Ring Fit Adventure. So
oh wow.
Big success there too.
Yeah, it was the same here with Ring Fit Adventure. It was, we would constantly, when it would come into stock, we'd tweet it on IGN Deals, and then like 5 minutes later it'd be gone. It was almost as hard to get as like a PS5 for something that, like a weird little Nintendo thing. I thought that was pretty cool. Anyone else have any surprises or disappointments of 2020 for Nintendo?
I can go next. Biggest surprise for me is kind of a tie between Paper Mario actually coming back. If you guys remember, like we were not counting on a Paper Mario game this year, and it just popped out of nowhere. And I really enjoyed that one. It's tied with Mario Kart Tour, which is just, I try to predict what Nintendo is going to do next, and because I have 2,000 predictions every year, some of them come true. Could not have guessed at a kart-based AR game, so that was a big surprise. Really talented team behind it, and it's a fun little toy and tech experiment. And then biggest disappointment is November's lead game, which, nothing against Hyrule Warriors, but I was ready for Breath of the Wild 2 or Metroid Prime or anything, like any of the kind of like top line Nintendo made games, and there just wasn't one.
Yeah. It's a weird year.
Yeah.
Zach, you're being awful quiet over there.
I'm just listening. Once again, Pear comes in to steal my thunder, because I was going to say my biggest surprise was how much I enjoyed playing Paper Mario 2. How I was so surprised that game was so like charming and cute and fun, and I really, really had a good time playing that. But Pear already said all that stuff, and then I was going to say that my biggest disappointment was that no Zelda and no Metroid. But lo and behold, Peer Schneider comes in. Oh, and then there's no Zelda this time, so I just wanted to have a Zelda game, but there wasn't one. So I mean,
Zach, we already talked about
Pear always stealing my thunder on Nintendo voice chat. Unbelievable.
Hey, Seth, let's edit this out because it's just the same information that he took from me.
Actually, I'm gonna
switch repeat offender Schneider. We're calling him.
Why don't you go next? Next time you go first.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Tom, what about you?
He'll be sitting there going like, "Oh, I haven't really thought about it." Hold on, Pear, what do you think?
Tom, what's your biggest disappointment and biggest surprise for Nintendo?
My biggest disappointment was similarly, but more broadly, that they just sort of didn't talk about any of this stuff, right? And it was not a disappointment that was surprising because of COVID, right? Like, I guess it would have been surprising at the beginning of the year, but if you told me that they're literally not going to mention Breath of the Wild at all. But with everything that happened this year in COVID, like, it does not surprise me that they sort of just hunkered down this year a little bit, but it was a little bit disappointing that we basically just didn't get much. Biggest surprise, like, honestly, I think it might be overall Hyrule Warriors as like a concept. The idea that they would do a prequel Musou game that is canon, like, they've never, as far as I know, they've never made a direct sequel Zelda game besides technically Majora's Mask and like technically the Wind Waker follow-up, Phantom Hourglass, right? Like, there's little bits of that, but that's not like literally them saying this is a direct sequel. So they've never done that, let alone a prequel, right? Like, this is the first time that Nintendo has really delved into a single Zelda game as a continuing story. And
except
that's
for crossbow training, of course, Tom.
Who could forget?
All right.
It continued the great narrative.
Also, Skyward Sword was the original Zelda prequel.
Well, technically, if you look at the character arc,
all right. Let's get okay. All right, let me roll up my sleeves. Let's get real pedantic here.
No.
Yeah, hell yeah, that's what the show's all about.
No, look, I'm the host. I say yes.
Yes.
Go for it.
All the Zelda games are a continuing story. They have their own weird, messy timeline. Some of them relate to others. Some characters continue over. But to this extent, Nintendo has never really taken the exact same Link, the exact same Zelda, the exact same world events on the exact same map and said, we're not only going to continue this story directly, we're going to give you backstory for a prequel of it too. Like, that is, I think that signals something to me and kind of like a change in kind of how they're handling some of their stuff like Zelda. Like, Breath of the Wild, I think, was just so popular that they're really leaning into it. And that surprised me to this extent, I think.
Well, technically an Oracle of Ages.
Well, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but there wasn't an official timeline until Hyrule Historia came out, right?
Yeah, well, there wasn't an official timeline because they had to make it up.
Well, right, exactly. And then when you look at it, you're like, well, none of this makes sense. Like, well, this is the hero's path.
And they're like, how do we fit these together?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I will continue to say, yeah, there are examples of it in the past, but to this extent, I think, to this degree.
No, we totally agree. We're just being asses.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my biggest surprise. It's just kind of both Zelda-ish, right? Like, both in what we did and didn't get from Breath of the Wild, basically.
Yeah. Such a weird year. I forgot my other surprise, and I was legitimately surprised when Super Mario 35 came out. Like, it's a Super Mario Battle Royale, and it's out now. What? And then I, played it, loved it, was really good at it, reviewed it, gave it a 7, I think. And I don't think I've played it since then. So, yeah. And the fact that it's a timed exclusive as far as like it's timed availability. Like, after, what is it, March, you won't be able to play this game anymore.
So they're going back to their old like Satellaview approach, where like they're if you're part of their online service, you'll get surprises, but they may not last forever, right?
Yeah,
like the BS Zelda games broadcast satellite. That is.
Can I change my answer?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, I'll let it.
My biggest
judges,
biggest disappointment of 2020 is that repair centers closed down, and they still haven't said anything about drift beyond "this is not an issue. We promise it's fine. Don't sue us." Like, that's like my biggest disappointment this year is that Joy-Con drift has not been solved. They're continuing to be litigated about it, and they're basically being silent in the face of all that criticism. That's my biggest Nintendo disappointment by a mile.
Yeah, I was playing the other day, actually, and I never play in handheld mode. I always play with my Pro controller, and I popped it out, and I was like, oh no, everything's just going everywhere. Like my drift is no longer just drift; it's just random. It'll sometimes go like left, right, up, down, just all over the place. Yeah, it's a real big bummer. But
go into the Switch has the built-in menu where you can test the sticks and recalibrate. So try the recalibration avenue first, because that fixes some small things. But yeah, I would send it in if, anyone who has drift or issues with controllers, there's something wrong.
My neighbor sent hers in, and 6 weeks later they came back and they worked perfectly. So
I would not be shy to get them replaced.
Yeah, I mean, well, if I were you and I had to get 3,200 Joy-Cons replaced, that would
I had 3 pairs replaced.
Really?
But and each time I'm sweating, because if they don't have those colors anymore, they might just send you gray ones back.
Oh, woof.
Yep.
That's terrifying. That's
so why wouldn't you just keep the limited edition ones?
Well, that's why I do
off the shelf and not play with those ones.
I would not send them in now.
Yeah, someday in the future, there'll be a Nintendo historian. They'll be like, we know these are genuine because they have drift.
Yeah, that's right.
That's how they know.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Zach, because I was going
to say, I think my actual surprise and disappointment, my surprise was that Nintendo brought some stuff out of the vault this year and had, released the Super Mario 35th anniversary, or the 3D All-Stars collection.
Yep.
And I think my biggest disappointment is the 3D All-Stars collection, because it was like such a bare bones collection of ports. I enjoyed spending some time with those games again, but I think that there was a lot more that could have been done. And for as highly as they touted and as big a spectacle as they made the 35th anniversary of Mario, it was like, okay. And then here are 3 low effort ports.
Excuse me, but to be fair, I watched the My Life in Gaming yesterday about the best ways to play Super Mario 64. And they said, based on their testing and expertise, that the 3D All-Stars is the best version of Super Mario 64 that has ever existed to this point. So,
except for the version where created it in Unreal on PC.
That doesn't count. You might as well just send yourself a cease and desist letter and not even spend all the time in Unreal to do that. But anyway, speaking of disappointments, the Nintendo Switch Online games got announced, and boy, oh boy, got Donkey Kong Country 3 leading the pack. I never played that one, so I'm excited.
Big one. Yeah, that's a big one. It's good to get all the DKC games out, right?
When I was a little kid, Donkey Kong Country 3 was my favorite because you could get in a little hovercraft on the world map and drive around. And I just loved that as a little kid.
See, I never played it because I'm sure it came out well into the PlayStation 1 life cycle. And I had just as 2D gaming. No way. That's for babies. I'm a cool polygon boy now, and I'll never go back to that. Now, it's all I ever do. But that's kind of the game. And then there was I don't know why I didn't write them down here, but it's just a rookie mistake. Thanks. Thank you. There were some other games that came out. From Jalico, which I actually made a spreadsheet somewhere.
It's I can tell him it's Super Valis 4.
Yeah.
Okay, which is not a Jalico game.
No, that's right. Tough Enough,
which is and has a sweet Rob Liefeld cover art.
And then Ignition Factor,
another Jalico.
And then Nightshade for the NES too,
which is by Ultra, which was Konami's subsidiary that they invented to skirt Nintendo's licensing rules, because you could only make 5 games per year. I'd never heard of that game, and which is crazy because Ultra and Konami were 2 of my favorite developers when I was a kid. I looked into why Jalico has such a huge presence. After Nintendo first party, Jalico is the second biggest publisher of games that are on the online service, and it's because the company City Connection Company owns the entire library, and they license those games out for $10-15. Yeah. So since this isn't a virtual console where you are buying a game, there's not really an incentive for Nintendo to seek out these more. I mean, I'm just playing, this is all conjecture, but there's no real reason for them to go looking for those expensive licenses. Like Contra, I'm pretty sure that is a very expensive game and a very difficult game to wrangle the rights for, the NES version. I know that when NECA put out its action figures, they got held up in like licensing hell forever.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because
over Contra?
Over Contra. If I had to guess, it's because Contra so liberally borrows from the Aliens and like Predator franchise that there's probably some little, backroom dealings that have to happen. Some palms have to get greased. But yeah, it's a bummer, but that's what we got. I don't have any love for any of these games.
No, nobody's ever heard of these games. Like, this is such a bummer. Like, it was like, oh, all right, new Nintendo Online games. It was like, oh, all right, I guess these are the new Nintendo Online games. Like, this is lame.
Jellicoe licensed some quality games back in the past, like some existing franchises, and ported them over to consoles. But mostly, I found out the hard way that Jellicoe was not the greatest brand. Like, I just bought random games that look cool when I lived in Japan, and like after a while, I'm like, all right, I see a pattern here. When it starts with a Jellicoe or the Banpresto logo, you can expect something that was basically farted out, not that great. But there are a couple of good licenses.
I mean, Bases Loaded was one of my favorite NES games. That we used to play that when I was in school all the time. And the favorite thing that we used to do is we would intentionally try to bean the batter, so it would start a bench clearing brawl. Yeah, and that was a very exciting thing. And also the Boston team is wicked good, dude.
Yeah,
but had wicked good stats.
It's fine for, these kind of forgotten and not beloved games to come back, just in the effort of preservation to make them accessible in some way. But like, the stuff we really need is like Ogre Battle from Atlas on the Super NES. Like, that sort of stuff would be so much better here, and actually get people excited.
Yeah, the list of publishers that are not Nintendo is a who's who of who, classics from Culture Brain, American Sammy, of course, with Jellicoe. Sunsoft is on there, Ultra is on there, Natsume is on there, and there's a couple Capcom games, but for the most part.
So what's happening though is, and this is different from the virtual console days, right? Even though Nintendo compensates the companies for carrying these games as part of their online plan, Nintendo proved with the Super NES Classic that you can do standalone releases of these classic games in a major bundle, and it works really well. And so that's why you're seeing like the Capcom Arcade Collection now and all that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
There's definitely a lot of the publishers that actually have good games say, well, why should we license single ones? Let's just do these packages and collections.
Right, and that's what I was going to say. That's another thing is there's these great, collections now. There's the Castlevania Anniversary Collection, the Mega Man Collection, the Mega Man X Collection, the Contra one that are all done by M2. Of course, I'll talk about that when we get to what we've been playing. But very excited because last night, out of nowhere, a Bravely Default 2 demo appeared.
I started it.
Descended.
Yeah. It
autofilled the name Seth, and I quit it immediately.
So
hurtful.
I saw that this demo went up, and I want to play it. I'm curious because we're so close to Bravely Default's 2's release. Do we know if saves carry over from this demo?
So.
They don't.
No, this is a standalone. It's because it doesn't start you from the beginning. It starts you at like level 6, and you're already geared up, and you already have some job. Yeah,
I've been spoiled. I've been spoiled by too many of these like crossover demos. I only want to play a demo now if my progress will carry over into the full game, because I'm not really interested in playing a 5-hour demo and then playing those 5 hours again later. I'm a busy man. Like, I don't have that kind of time.
But you can. I mean, you don't have to play the full 5 hours. 5 hours is the cap before it resets you in this game. But like,
wow, I just guessed 5 hours. That's impressive.
No, you're absolutely right. It has a 5-hour timer on it. But the I think they probably really wanted to let you keep you safe, but because the prologue probably starts really slow and has you like create like just go through all the tutorial stuff. They probably didn't think it was good to let you start with a prologue and then jump you right in with the party, exploring, being close to a town, being able to experience battles and all of that. So it's probably a better idea for them to show you the game, what it looks like when you actually got going. But it is very early on in the game. It's not, it's not like the last demo where you're jumping into a later place. And
yeah, they did a lot of adjustments to the game. There's adjustable difficulty that you can change whenever you want to. So there's casual, normal, and there's hard. The overworld monsters aren't as fast, so it's easier to run away from them, and that is good. But one of my favorite things about Bravely Default was that you could adjust the monster encounter rate. So if you were in a dungeon and you only had one hit point, everybody had poison and you had one hit point left for whatever reason, you could just turn off monsters and walk back to town and heal everybody up, which is always the worst part of role-playing games, is when you die deep into a dungeon and you have to do it all over again. I love that. On the other side, I love that you could turn the encounters way up and I'd just be in bed just grinding levels with, every 2 steps there's a monster, every 2 steps, and it's just, a nice fun way to waste some time. That's not here anymore. You can't adjust the monster encounter rate. You can adjust the difficulty, which I imagine is somewhat the same, but I don't know. A little bummed out about that.
I mean, it raises the stakes, but yeah, it can be really annoying. I actually didn't look at what the checkpoint save system was like, whether it's pretty liberal. Obviously, there are ways around getting yourself in trouble. They seem to have adjusted the difficulty a lot. I think that was one of the biggest points of feedback that they got from the original, that it was kind of unbalanced and all over the place, right?
Yeah. They, the graphics are a little bit better. On the last demo, the enemies looked like almost like claymation. I mean, they didn't move that way, but the models themselves, and they've given them some more textures now.
I tell you, man.
Oh, I kind of think it's good to hear that they sound or look like claymation. I'd be into that.
So I started this demo this morning. I haven't gotten super deep into it, and I didn't play the last one. But like, I haven't played a game where I hated the character design so much and loved the environment art so much. Like that disparity is huge in this game for me. I think the characters and the monsters and even the like attack animations are like genuinely bad in some places, and then the worlds around them are like gorgeous, just incredible to look at.
Yeah, the towns look really cool, and it looks very picture book like, right?
And when you enter a building and it like kind of zooms in on this like sort of like pop-up book style also, like that stuff is awesome. And then like I look at the characters and I'm like, why is one of you dressed like a Russian like princess, and then the other one is dressed in like a black suit that looks like out of Final Fantasy 15, and then the other one is a knight, and like it just doesn't make any sense to me. And they all have like GoldenEye big head mode on. Like it's bad to me.
Seth is going to get mad at you in a second. I don't like the way the characters look. I never liked them in Bravely Default 1, but the game's definitely not ugly. I actually like the monsters. Monsters look cool.
Yeah. I mean, if you're looking for something to make sense, you're not playing a JRPG is not where you want to be.
I mean, that's so funny to hear that you guys say that, because like they just look like JRPG characters to me.
But to me, like JRPGs still like have some sort of through line and like thematic style to me, and like these characters, the main characters, look so different from each other that it is jarring to me in a way that like I don't see in other JRPGs commonly. And again, this is just my opinion. If you like the way they look, that's totally great. I'm not trying to like shoot anyone down here. It's just like, it is weirder to me than most JRPGs I've played stylistically.
Yeah. And if you didn't play the demo, by the way, it is the most JRPG of modern JRPGs. Right?
It's like very,
it's like jumping back to the the Final Fantasy 4, 5, 6 days. Like with a similar style and a similar battle system and all of that. So
but that's not new. Like that's what Bravely Default is, right?
Yeah, I really appreciate that there is a series doing that in 2020, right? And 2021. Like I think that's super cool that style still exists, gameplay wise.
Yeah. The thing that appeals to me most about Bravely Default before we move on was that for me, it was the continuation of the Final Fantasy series that we never got. Once Final Fantasy 7 hit, they're like, oh, people want to look at real boys wearing leather and like leggy ladies. And so then it went to this weird like zippers and chains sort of thing. And I always wanted to see the sort of Super NES, NES style, you know, like cute chibi style characters, you know, enemies on one side, heroes on the other. They jump back and forth to fight. That's what I want. And Bravely Default like definitely hits on that. And, you know, it's got all the cliches. There's a water crystal. Now there's water everywhere. What are we going to do about it? Hey, who's this guy? He seems kind of creepy, but he's definitely not the bad guy. Or is he? I have to wait to the end to find out that one. There you go. Games out this week, other than the Bravely Default 2 demo. Unto the End, Dicey Dungeons, the collection of Saga Final Fantasy Legends, which I'll talk about when we talk about what we've been playing, and Funimation app. Who knew? Funimation, owned by Sony, is now on the Nintendo Switch. Whoa. Kratos next?
Nintendo Switch.
Yeah. Yep.
Kratos is already on Switch in Fortnite.
Oh, that's true. That is true. Weird.
Everything's loopholes.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about what we've been playing. I'm very excited. I've been playing Final Fantasy Legend for the Nintendo Game Boy. I got the Saga collection. It is you think the 3D All-Stars collection is low effort. This might be the lowest effort collection I've ever seen. It's clearly designed for mobile devices. Thankfully, you can turn the on-screen controls off. You can also, this got me very excited. You can turn the screen to a vertical orientation, so you could play it like a Game Boy if you wanted to. I was really excited because I was going to get one of those flip grips. Turns out it turns it the wrong way. So you'd have to have the flip grip. Cool. Yeah, and there's no way to turn it around the other way. But, you know, it's $20. It's the 3 games, a couple of some different wallpapers to play it with. No sort of like history stuff, no anything. It is just ROMs and a Game Boy emulator for $20. Good game.
So, you know, I've done some research here, and a lot of historians actually say that Saga sucks. How do you feel about that statement, Seth?
I actually never played the Final Fantasy Legends series, nor have I played any of the Saga games. I only have nostalgia for this because I wanted so badly to play it, and I never got to. And now I'm playing it, and I'm like, this is a dense RPG that makes no sense whatsoever. I'm loving it. I got to get out the guides to figure everything out. It's exactly what I want.
Seth, you're a weird dude.
I am. I march to my own drummer, buddy.
Yeah, I think our attempts to rile up Seth keep on failing.
I know.
He just doesn't care. It just doesn't care about anything.
He's too chill.
That is not true.
I'm just trying to help the Bravely Default characters. There's no reaction. He's just cool as a cucumber.
That's right. I mean, hey, look, I could get mad about what other people like or don't like, but I have no control over that. So ultimately, it should be a wasted emotion.
If you do get mad about what other people like, though, you can start a YouTube channel, Seth.
Oh,
think about that.
Oh, nice.
I'm going to be rich.
Yeah.
Rich as astronauts.
I don't know. I've always been very like on the fence with Saga because I do remember playing Saga when I was a kid and being like, I don't understand this at all. This does not make any sense to me whatsoever. So I thought it was kind of an odd, like there are so many Square games that are kind of lost to the void, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like at the moment or that aren't on the Switch or that aren't available. And so like when they announced this Saga collection, I was like, really? Saga collection? That's what you're going to bring out? Like, oh, okay, man.
I was talking to somebody on Twitter earlier this week because they were asking for, I think it was Final Fantasy IV, a Final Fantasy IV re-release or port, basically, is what they wanted. And I was like, careful what you wish for, because like every Square Enix re-release is like only delivered via a monkey paw wish, where like you get it, but something's wrong. like, oh, you want Final Fantasy VII? Okay, here is the mobile version from 5 years ago that had an audio bug that was already patched out on PC. Like, what? Like, okay.
I want 4 redone as Octopath Traveler.
Yeah, I would love that.
That would just be so good.
Yeah.
You completely keep the feel of the original game, but you update it and make it interesting for people to return to.
Yeah.
Square.
Pear, you really wanted to talk about Grindstone.
No, I mean, like you've also been playing Fire Emblem OG, right?
I played the original Fire Emblem because Look what arrived.
Oh,
shout out.
Oh, that's nice.
Wow.
Shout out to my friend Chris. It is. I didn't know what it was when it was on my porch. I was like, what? Oh, by the way, I'm holding up the Fire Emblem 30th anniversary collection.
I didn't buy it. I was so tempted, but I'm like, I have so many boxes in my house now.
But now that you see it, are you so mad that you didn't buy it? You can still buy it.
No,
you can still buy it, yeah. And it's got a book. It's got the cartridge is amazing. It's got a little Nintendo Power poster. It is. This is. I hope that Nintendo does more collections like this, because this is exactly how you do this. Is and it was like $49, I think. It's incredible.
Send me a link, Seth.
I'll send you the deal link for Amazon. But what
do you think?
The game itself had this game been translated and brought to the United States when I was 12 years old, this would have probably been my favorite game of all time. In 2020, after not ever really finding a strategy RPG that clicks other than maybe Bahamut Lagoon a little bit, this is a tough one to play, but I'm gonna stick to it.
No, and that's I brought this up before it came out. It's like, if you're into Fire Emblem and you want to see how it all started, this is a good game to get. It's obviously cheap. It's great that it was translated. But it is missing a lot of the things that came later, right? Like just the ability to see how far your characters can move, or how far your enemies can move. So all of these kind of quality of life upgrades came later, and then obviously the storyline from the NES game was redone in the sequel, so there are better ways to play it. But from a historical perspective, it's just really cool to see how it started and how simple it was.
Yeah. This would have been a top 5 NES game for me had it come out at the time, because awesome, it's so cool, and the little animations of the characters when they're battling each other, it's pretty great. Yeah.
So yeah, I've been playing a couple of games. Obviously, I'm still playing Picross S5. Like, these Picross S games last for months because I play them in little bursts. Like, before I go to sleep, I do a couple puzzles, something like that. Space Invaders Forever just came out, and it actually includes multiple games and game modes. So it has the kind of Space Invaders Forever update to Space Invaders, which it's got this techno beat going, crazy animations, mixes up, like, you still have your enemies going left to right, but it mixes up things by having certain invaders that explode when you hit them. So you want to kind of strategize what to hit. You can do color combos and get more points by stringing together combos. It has bosses, all that. Actually a really lovingly crafted update where they take the spirit of the original game and they just kind of make it more exciting. It's got an adventure mode, which is a little bit like Star Fox, where you have like branching paths on a map that you follow. It includes a 4-player version of the original Space Invaders. So giant freaking widescreen full of invaders. And 4 players at the bottom with the classic sound effects, the shot and all of that. And then it also comes with Space Invaders X Arkanoid, which is you have to turn your Switch sideways, and you have a vertical version of a mix of Arkanoid, the ball breaker.
Can you do the sound effect again?
No. And then you have to scroll back.
Okay.
And then the final game I'm playing is Grindstone, which is just freaking amazing. I played it last year. When it came out on Apple Arcade, and that was one of the reasons for me to get the subscription, and eventually also kept it. But it is the best puzzle game now on the Switch. So if you're into color matching games, this one it's not just about connecting things of the same color. It just feels so good because you're directing this big buff monster dude who slays the jerks, these monsters, and like the way it feels when you string together like 50 of them, it's just so exhilarating and cool.
Yeah.
It's you can, for people with kids, you can turn off the gore, you can turn it up. It just keeps on evolving. Like, as you progress through the levels, they're bringing new elements. It has boss battles that are different from the regular fights, upgrades to the character. It has a daily challenge mode with leaderboards. It's a real deal. It's really
awesome. Do you know, maybe you mentioned it here, but do you know how much it costs on Switch?
I bought it, but I forget. So if I look at the Nintendo page, and
while you're looking that up, one thing I would stress too is that, like, real quick, it is a matching symbol puzzle game, but it does not feel like a match 3, right?
No.
Like it does not feel like Bejeweled or a game like that. So if you're worried it is that sort of thing, like I'd give it another look, because it feels more like an action puzzle game than it does like a match 3 puzzle game. It's like it's really exciting.
It's such an awesome blend of a few different like genres. I think, like it's definitely a puzzle game, but there's upgradable weapons and like, a lot of heart, I think a lot of thought that has gone into this game. And also it has one of the best suite of sound effects in any game in recent memory. Like play it with headphones if you're playing it in handheld, and when you line up, like Para saying, when you line up like 25 enemies to chop through, it's just like it's so satisfying to hear it. Yeah.
And it's the music is really good too. It's got a great soundtrack in general. So the Switch version compared to the iPhone version iPhone is vertical, right? So what they did is they replicated the kind of square box, the puzzle arena in the center of the screen, and it zooms in and out and all that. And then they basically filled the sides with the menus that are usually overlaid on the iPhone version at the top and the bottom, and it works really well. It looks really nice on and runs nice both docked and handheld. And yeah, like it's a competent port. Now the original is a touchscreen game, and I will say playing it touchscreen is faster to string together the lines. You can play it touchscreen and handheld here, but it totally works with stick control as well. It's just not as fast. Like after a while, you get so good, you just go, you just string together stuff. And it is a little bit more fun in touchscreen, I'd say. But
also to answer the question, it's $15 right now, usually $20.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Hey, that's a deal.
It's on sale for $15 right now. It is
awesome.
It is a top 25 game for me on the platform. So
okay, we are back without Zach. He was the imposter, so
he had to go Zach in time.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. We are back for Question Block. We're taking your questions. Excuse me. Ritus Titus, which is one of the cooler names that I've ever heard. That is some straight Roman general name right there. After trying out Doom Eternal on Switch, which actually runs surprisingly smooth, I have a question. What third-party big games, in your opinion, have the biggest chances to be ported to Switch next year? Ooh, that is a very tough question. Doom Eternal.
You know what's funny is Doom Eternal is now technically a first-party game, but for Microsoft.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So that I was going to say, don't get your hopes up. I think this is the beginning of the end of the big ports.
Yeah,
and there are a couple of reasons for it. One, the pipelines for the last generation of consoles is going to dry up, and the new games are going to target the new ones, which makes it even harder to port. Right, like porting Doom, created for the last generation of consoles, is a great feat, and this is a really competent developer, but it's going to get harder now. And so obviously there will be some PC, also on PC games, where maybe the developers are aiming at lower spec machines that could be ported. But then there's also the acquisition and the consolidation now in the market, where Bethesda now going to Microsoft means one of the biggest supporter of ports is unlikely going to port all of their games over in the future. So I feel like it's the beginning of the end for those big console ports.
Yeah.
That maybe we'll see more streaming games, right? Like if these streaming experiments in Japan and the US are successful, you could imagine like games that are already made available on Stadia will also be streamed on the Switch through the service, whatever it will look like. But I wouldn't hold my breath for a lot more.
Yeah, I think pretty much it's going to be whatever does come down the pike is going to be limited to stuff that is able to run on PC, just because they will have made the build for the low powered PC machine. So nothing immediately springs to mind. I mean, maybe the low res Death Stranding will come to Switch next year.
Seth, that's not going to happen.
We at least know that Apex Legends is coming at some point.
Yep.
Because that got delayed out of 2020. But it's harder to think about. Like, that's what I was thinking, is maybe there's something else from EA that's like a little older that they might be working on.
Jedi Fallen Order, right? Like there may be games like that will arrive later that are from the last generation and still relevant. I love that game. I thought it was really cool.
I think you could also potentially see, like you said, streaming stuff. Like maybe Capcom was happy with Resi 7's streaming version. Maybe we'll get like a Resident Evil 2 remake streaming version sort of thing.
Oh, that'd be...
I think that has a more of a chance than seeing like we said before, Cyberpunk, right?
Right.
Like that's not going to happen.
It doesn't even work on last gen console. So
it doesn't even run on last gen. Yeah. My Series X version of Cyberpunk runs pretty well though in quality mode. It's really nice.
Game I would most like to see brought to Nintendo Switch would be the Metal Gear Solid HD collection. And that's 2 generations ago, and they're old games anyway. So, and I think that would be so great on a Nintendo Switch.
If there's still a beating heart at Konami that is not filled with pachinko balls, we may be seeing some of those classics, because that would make all the sense in the world too. With Solid Snake is such a center stage character, Smash, and so beloved. I would love to see all that stuff too. And I think that's what you will see. You'll see some companies going back to their earlier last gen console lineups and converting them. And so, if you're a Nintendo only owner, that's obviously pretty cool to get those. But man, like the moment Call of Duty wasn't simultaneously released anymore, like EA is buying Codemasters, so you might not see all of their games come across, because they set their sights a little bit higher than smaller studios like Codemasters when it comes to unit sales. I think it's going to dry up the current gen conversions.
They could bring back all those unlicensed NES games that Codemasters used to be famous for making.
Yeah, exactly.
This next question is from Levi Grove. Levi wants to know, what's on your Christmas wish list? Ooh, your Nintendo holiday dreams. Tom, do you have any Nintendo holiday dreams this year?
Not Nintendo holiday dreams. You know what my Christmas, I'm going to get real with everybody real quick for a second. You know what my Christmas wish list was this year? Just pajamas. I don't put on pants at all anymore. I want the comfiest pajama pants you can send me, because I have a closet full of jeans and slacks that haven't been worn in 10 months. So, that was my Christmas wish list this year, was just comfy stuff.
That's actually, that's great. Yeah, that's what about you, Pear? Are you looking for comfort? Or are you looking for...
I have everything. I live vicariously through my kids. So my youngest son is getting a telescope.
Oh, nice.
And I had one as a kid and obsessed over it, and he's going nuts over it. He's the little scientist in the house, and so I'm really llooking forward to that. And then generally, I just Christmas stuff, I just buy dishes and stuff for the kitchen for myself, not for my wife.
Oh yeah, that's the reason for the season right there. Yep. Dishes for the kitchen. Yeah, it's a false rhyme. Yeah, I just want this pair of Nike winter shoes. Ooh. They look really cool.
My original plan was to be in Japan right now, with my friends from my college days, with kids and wife in tow, and obviously all of that got canceled. So I'm also wishing for a return to normalcy, so we can finally see our friends and family again. Especially somebody whose family is scattered around the globe and not in the U.S. That would be really nice.
Yeah, and I would love nothing more than to go to Super Nintendo World in Japan, just for the sake of the show. As a work responsibility, I understand my responsibilities of what I have to do, what sacrifices I have to make to sit in this chair right now in Casey's absence. So, we'll see. Yes,
we have IGN Japan, and they've already been invited.
Yeah, but what if there are deals in Nintendo World?
Yeah, coupon codes.
Yeah. Buy 2 Koopa Slurpees and get 1 for free.
My whole family, we got our passports last September with great plans. We're going to travel abroad. We went to Quebec City last year, and this year we were going to just kind of roll the dice and.
This is so funny to me. So was that the first time you got a passport?
Well, I had a passport when I was 16, and then when I was in the military, you don't need a passport. Your military ID works as a passport. So but this was Yeah,
we've had this in the past, when years ago when we had hired someone new to work at IGN, and we're like, all right, we need you to urgently drop in and travel to this event. Like somebody dropped out from our Tokyo Game Show trip, and people are like, oh, I don't have a passport. Whereas like growing up in Germany, you needed a passport to go into Holland, which was 10 minutes by bicycle, right? So we were born with passports.
Well, up until 2001, if you wanted to go to Canada in Maine, you just drove across the border, and
there you go.
That was it. There was no passports. They didn't even really care. Like, yeah, okay, you're 19, you're here to drink. We understand. Go have fun, eh? So that's completely off subject here. We'll do one more question. As your barber wants to know, in honor of Among Us dropping, which Nintendo hero is most sus? Ooh,
Nintendo
Mario.
Hero is the specified thing.
That is, that's a critical.
It's Wario.
No,
yeah, they immediately were the first to jump to mind. But it's like, well, no, they're not heroes. But they're not really villains either. They're just like antagonists, I guess. But I'm gonna say Luigi. Luigi's sus, and we never knew that. He always seemed like this cool, like younger brother who could jump for some reason. But then the Luigi Stair came out, and we saw the dark side of Luigi in Mario Kart 8, and so I think there's something going on there. I think he's tired of living in the shadow of his brother Mario.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. I would pick Captain Falcon because
that's a good one.
If you follow the lifestyle of famous race car drivers, successful drivers, there's drugs and adultery and all sorts of drama and intrigue, and some drivers want to kill each other by smashing into them.
That's a good one.
I don't trust him. Like, I don't know how he made his money to afford that blue Falcon.
And what branch of the military was he in to gain the rank of captain?
Yeah, he's a captain, right? Well, maybe he captains the Falcon.
Oh, that's also true. I guess you don't actually have to be, you could be the captain of a fishing boat.
But I think there's a dark story somewhere.
I think so too. Mm-hmm. Tom, what about you? Which Nintendo hero do you think is the most sus?
I'm going Donkey Kong.
Donkey.
Because you don't go from kidnapping a woman and
that's true
to go-karting with him like nothing happened.
Yeah.
Like, that man has a history.
That is very true. But I'm willing to, give him the benefit of the doubt. He might have really looked inside his monkey self.
All his bananas got stolen. Mm-hmm. How did he get that many bananas? What did he need that many bananas for? What was
that is true, because bananas are a zero-sum game. Like the more bananas you have is the fewer that somebody else could have.
Right.
There are only so many bananas in the world. So I
think something shady's going on there.
That's a great answer. Awesome. Well, I'm glad we know which Nintendo heroes we all are suspicious of. But I want to thank you, Tom and Peer, for being on my second ever show. It's always so much fun. I wasn't going to thank Zach because he left because he thinks he's better than us. I want to thank everybody who sent in a question. And that's all the time we have for Nintendo Voice Chat. Thanks for listening. And remember, NVC is the only place where you can
get the thing.
Get that thing. Get it.